Nicole.
Hi, yeah.
How are you doing today?
Alright, yourself?
I'm pretty good, thanks for asking. I just wanted to introduce myself before we get started today. My name's Katelynn, and I'm a counselor here at Fleming College. Before we get into conversation, I just wanted to ask you, do you know anything about confidentiality and what your understanding of that is?
Kind of, I just basically know that it just means whatever you and I talk about stays between you and I, so, you can't tell my professors or, other students.
Yeah, that's great. That's pretty much exactly what confidentiality means. Whatever we talk about here today won't be shared with anyone else. This is a safe space, and I want you to feel comfortable talking to me today. However, I do need to inform you that there are a few limitations to this concept of confidentiality. If you're at risk of harming yourself or harming others, if a child under the age of 16 is at potential risk of being at harm, or if there's a court ordered, I would need to disclose information to the correct authority. And this is just something I want you to be aware of and just mindful of while we're talking, just so there's no surprises and you're not confused. Is there anything that you want to clarify, or do you have any questions?
So, what would I have to say that, in these particular circumstances that would, classify myself being a risk to myself?
Well, that's actually a great question. I can understand why you'd be kind of confused. It's a pretty big, broad statement that isn't completely clarified. So, if you were to indicate to myself that you were to inflict harm upon yourself, or potentially try to end your own life, this would be a circumstance where I would have to take into consideration your safety, and I'd have a duty to report to the correct authority, just to keep you safe and just to maintain your well-being. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for explaining that there.
No worries. So why don't we just begin with telling me what you brought into counseling today?
Well, I think that there's a lot going on in my life right now that's making me kind of feel stressed just overall. I think that my stress is overwhelming me to the point where I can't even focus, and I'm kind of just all over the place.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're really flustered.
Oh yeah, you can definitely say that. I think that the fact that the end of the semester is approaching and that there's a lot of assignments to due soon, I don't feel like I have enough time to get everything done and finished, and I'm freaking myself out and I'm worried so much about it. It's just one thing on top of another, and I have to get my exams are soon. I have to get my assignments done, and because I have to get my assignments done, I can't study for everything else, and then I still have to find a placement, and I still have to do my volunteer hours, and there's just so much stuff.
Okay, well, it seems like you have a lot on your plate right now. How have you been able to manage so far throughout the semester to complete all of your assignments?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't really know. Just because I mainly not have been sleeping at all to get my assignments done, so I usually stay up all night just to get group work done in particular, just because group work is something that I've been doing a majority of the work for, and which I know is my own fault because I'm not depending on my group members, but at the same time too, when I try, they usually when I give them a task or something, or when I facilitate and I do it that way, they don't they don't complete what they're supposed to, or it's not up to the standards of what's being asked. And so then what usually has to happen is I would have to then very last minute take their part and just do it from scratch.
Okay, that makes sense. So it sounds like you're able to recognize that group work is an issue for you. Have you been able to think of any alternative ways to address the conflict within your group work?
Yeah, I know particular people in general that won't snuff out on their parts of the work, so I usually try to lean towards working with them exclusively and just focusing on being with them, just because it's just easier. But it's hard to handle when you only have like one or two of those type of people, and then especially when you need those like bigger groups, and then adding on like not all my classes are with them.
Yeah, no, of course. Have you been able to talk to any of your professors about this issue?
I thought about doing that by like talking to.
Sorry about that. So what were you saying?
Oh yeah, okay. I thought about doing that by talking to a professor like about this particular like group member, but it wasn't really like who wasn't really doing anything at all for the assignments, and was like actually causing me a lot of stress. But I know the assignment itself would be like worth a big % of everyone's grade. So if I said anything to the professor, this group member would have possibly not have been able to get full marks for the assignment itself, which I didn't feel comfortable doing.
Well, it sounds like you're a very compassionate person. The fact that you're having this concern for your other group members is really considerate of you, especially if you find them causing you your own great deal of stress. I think this is a really great characteristic to have, and I think it's a strength that you portray. Is this something that you ever acknowledged?
I honestly haven't. I thought about it. I haven't thought about it like in that particular way before. Like I don't know if I would go that far to consider myself that great. It was more of a kind of like fuck it kind of moment, to be honest, where my patience just grew too thin.
So, when you say your patience grew too thin, what do you mean by that?
Well, I could tell that I was getting too stressed about the situation itself, and I decided to just do it.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you could recognize your own emotions and needs and act upon those. Sounds like you're able to take your own self-care into consideration when dealing with this kind of conflict. How do you think you could apply self-care to your stress, like to the stress you feel with your assignments, with your current assignments?
I'm not too sure.
So imagine you go to bed tonight and a miracle takes place. You go to bed tonight, a miracle takes place, and anything in your life with your assignments is different. What would be different about that? What would you change?
Well, if everything just magically was better, it would probably mean that I'd be getting more sleep. That way that I wouldn't feel so drained all the time, and I'd be able to actually focus and do all my assignments, and they would all be done actually, probably. That would be nice. And that I would have a secure placement. I would actually have a social life and spend time with family without the stress of school kind of looming over me.
Yeah. Well, those are some great goals, actually. We could definitely work on those within our time together. We can work towards those goals. Out of those, what would you say would be the most 3 important to you?
Probably fixing my sleep schedule for one. Getting my assignments done, that's for sure. And probably securing my placement, because I need to get that done too.
So those are definitely some 3 pretty important things to work towards. If we were going to look at each of those individually, what would you say your ideal sleep schedule would look like?
Probably not sleeping in late and going to bed at a decently, moderately early time. Right now, I usually tend to go to bed about 4 or 5 a.m. and get back up at 9 a.m. for classes. So I'd like to go to bed around midnight at the very latest. But again, that's where my assignments come into play. That's why I'm usually up late working on my assignments.
Yeah, I can understand how that can be so frustrating for you, as it seems those issues for you kind of intertwine. I can honestly relate to that myself, as here at Fleming College with the counseling services, I have a lot of documentation I have to do myself, and I'm actually unable to go home before that's completed. So that seems to affect my sleep schedule that I have during the week as well. So I'm able to understand that as it contributes to a great deal of my own stress.
Yeah, I guess it never ends, eh? Like, even when you're out in the field, it's never ending paperwork.
Yeah, to a degree, I guess that's true. But it gets easier with the more self-care tactics and skills you actually have, and you use when you're in those times of stressful situations. Do you have anything right now that can help you lessen your workload or stress when it comes to those assignments?
Yeah, my mom actually like helps a lot, even though she can't like physically take the work off my hands. She usually does help me brainstorm when I have like writer's block or something. Or if I need to completely get my mind taken off my assignment, I usually talk to or like hang out with my dog Rue. That seems to usually like she's really effortlessly helps me just distract me from whatever is making me feel overwhelmed.
Well, so from my understanding, it sounds like your mom is able to help you a lot with your assignments when you're stuck, and your dog also helps relieve a lot of your stress. Both of those seems like great support systems.
Oh yeah, like I'm definitely really grateful like to have them in my life, even though sometimes I do take them for granted. I am really thankful that they're there.
It's great that you're able to have these support systems. So the times that you become overwhelmed with your assignments, I just wanted those times that you become overwhelmed with your assignments. I just wanted to touch back on how your assignments are affecting your sleep schedule. Is there anything you can do in regards to your assignments that could possibly impact how much sleep you get each night?
Well, I haven't thought too much about what I could do, like, to help my sleeping schedule entirely, just because, like you said earlier, like, my stuff kind of, like, all intertwines, so I'm, like, kind of all over the place and trying to think of what to do. But when I do think about it, I believe I could work on things ahead of time, I guess, so I don't need to, like, spend so much time staying up late and, like, to complete them and, like, to complete my work. I think, like, if I also trusted my group members, I would be able to relieve a lot of that stress, and I wouldn't have to, I'd be able to, like, go to bed earlier, and then I wouldn't be staying up so late.
So I think it's great that you're able to acknowledge that if you're able to work on things a little ahead of time, you won't need to do things so last minute, and you'll have more time to do things that you like to do, such as get that appropriate amount of sleep. What would you do, or what do you think you could do differently that would help you complete your assignments at an earlier time so you can have more sleep?
Well, I think, like, if I spent less time, like, watching TV and, like, going on my phone, like, going on social media, I'd have more time to work on my current assignments. When I'm thinking about it, if I were to, like, set certain times to do my homework, that'd probably help as well. And it would definitely help me a lot, and I could go to sleep at a more reasonable time, probably.
When you say that you would set certain times to do your homework, what did you mean by that, and what would that look like for you?
I think that, like, probably, like, the most productive in the morning. So, like, when I first get up, like, I'm able to, like, focus on things, and I'm, like, better at deciding early and commit, and that maybe, like, going on, like, weekends, like, doing it on weekends, because I have, like, the full day to, like, commit to it, really. It makes it makes knowing that like I have a huge like time on weekends better to better commit to it, I guess.
So it sounds like having a decent amount of time dedicated